psychological safety is already something that is important for an organization. Organization needs to create that openness of communication.
What would be the quick tips for creating a...
It has to be consistent, active listening, be curious, feel that it is safe.
Join in the Facebook Live. Thank you for making a time to join us a short conversation with our guest today, which I will introduce later on. Okay, so a brief introduction. What is Sembang True? This is actually a new initiative program that we just kickstart our episode 1 yesterday, and this is a series of program that will put it on live with the invited guests. The invited guests are mostly from several industries that mostly are our partners, and also the clients that we serve. So we want to, through utilizing this Sembang True platform, to share our live audience a quick learnings through our conversations. So the name is actually inspired by a drive-through, because during MCO and CMCO period, we did a lot of driving through to grab a quick lunch to make it convenient. So we want to, through this program, Sembang True, we want everyone to Sembang through a very quick learning through a conversation. Yeah. And today we have this episode 2 with the topic of powerful conversations that drive ownership and performance. And we're honored to have our guest of the day, Coach Karfei, who is the founder of Life Redesign, performance coach. And he also a coach for us, for our internal staff, for certain learning and development, also for leadership aspects. Yeah, so I will also pass the floor to Karfei. Would you like to add on a little bit about yourself?
Well, hi everyone. For all of you who are live, nice to see all of you, and thank you so much for joining us on this Friday, almost evening, almost the end. So thank you so much for having me, Xinghui and Impact Evolution, for being here. I think Xinghui has done a good introduction, and to just kind of give everyone a brief background, it's that I'm a certified leadership coach. I'm a coach that is invited by Forbes Coaches Council to be part of their council in coaching and leadership, where selected people who have done great things in this area of coaching and leadership are being invited to be part of. So I've been coaching for almost 10 years now. So I coach ranging from young professionals, fresh graduates into the workplace, the Gen Ys, the Gen X, the Gen Zs, to high performing managers and head of departments, where I teach them coaching, leadership, building competencies, and so on. And at the end of the day, my personal mission is that I wanted to help people to be living their fullest potential. And that includes helping them to be the best version of themselves when they are in the workplace. I think one of the things that we can do when we talk about changing the world and so on, it's actually in the workplace, because humans spend 65% of our waking hours at work throughout our lifetime. And that's a lot of time. So if we want to help people to be the best version of themselves and help them to use their time to change the world, it's to help them to become a better person in the workplace. And I've been privileged enough to work with companies like KPMG, American Express, Great Eastern, and multiple multinational companies in the world, in the US, in Europe, and in Asia as well. So really, really excited to be here with all of you.
Great. Thank you, Karfei, for a very great introduction about your background. And I believe your presence here today, there's a reason. Yeah. Well, for Impact Evolutions, most of our audience, we are from corporate background and up until youth organization or universities. Yeah. So I believe upcoming our conversation will be touched about very important keys about leaderships that might help them in different areas, in different industries. So about today's topic, we actually collect these conversations with our clients, with different organizations, from the perspective as leaders. A lot of them share us these challenges, where they find that from MCO started until now CMCO, either they're still working remotely from home, or they are already slowly resumed back to office for work. Then they have these common challenges that a lot of their team members are in the anxiety states, which cause them they're very light in talking to each other, or they might fear to share something, and that they feel there's a gap between the leader and also with their team members. Yeah. So Karfei, how do you see this situation? Why there's a behavior that we are observing like this right now?
Well, I think first things first, the reason why it is happening is because of the the uncertainty that's happening, right? I mean, before this, we talk about, human motivation, and one of the key elements that people, are being afraid of is actually uncertainty, right? Uncertainty creates a lot of anxiousness, anxiety, a lot of fear in people. So to answer your question, why is this happening? It's purely because we are living to a certain extent in an unprecedented time, right? Number one, it's in the US, lost are more than the jobs that was created during the past 50 to 100 years, right? So basically, within a 6 months period of time, the pandemic has already kind of like killed off the number of jobs that was created over the past 100 years or so. So that itself is a lot of, it's telling us about what's happening in the state of the world. A lot of companies are not used to working from home. That creates a lot of uncertainty. People are afraid, oh, what if, I'm working from home and I'm not performing, will I get fired? And third one is basically economic crisis, right? We are going through a crisis right now that it's way bigger than any countries and any time of the world has ever, managed. Even in the US, in Europe, even in Asia, countries are giving out stimulus like, water is created from the sky, which technically it is, but that's a story for another day. But that's kind of pandemic creating so much fear in people that right now we don't even know what's going to happen next.
Yes.
So I really also think that, as a leader, your job is really to give that safety to your team. And over the years, actually, there's a lot of research that has been done. Google has done some research. Some HR and organizational development specialists have also done some research about what helps to retain or keep people motivated in an organization. And one of the key findings that they found was what they call psychological safety. So what does it mean? See, think about it. Like even years ago, psychological safety is already something that is important for an organization. But the thing is, a lot of organizations are not aware of it until right now. So anxiousness is developed. Anxiousness starts to show up when people don't feel safe psychologically. And why do I say psychologically? Is because sometimes a lot of anxiousness that people have and fear that people have is created in their mind. And it's not because the economic crisis is really hitting them, but it's the perception of how it's going to hit them that kind of messes up and create the anxiousness in them. So I believe that as a leader in organizations, your role is very important to have conversations with a team to really understand why are they feeling so anxious, to really help them to break down, like, okay, why are you feeling anxious? What is happening in your life that makes you feel anxious, that fear, that kind of negative feeling in them, and try to create a space so that they can talk about it. So for me, that is the key to leadership. It's to being able to create that safe space for people, for your team member to come and talk to you.
I see. So talking about create a safe space to share something that they really feel insecurity about, it's also a challenge that a lot of people that are facing this. It's not only leaders unable to get this kind of conversation for their people. As a team member, as an employee, how can we like really break the fears to share this? Because it's really crucial. If our psychological safety is not there, we will never raise up the issue. So how can I raise this up? Yeah.
I think it's two ways to approach this, right? The first one is on the leadership itself. And then the second one is on the employee themselves, right? So I want to talk about from a leadership and from an organizational point of view. The key here is that what are your companies doing in order for you to provide that psychological safety to your people? Number one. So right now, if we can assume, right, people are afraid of quite a number of things: retrenchment, no jobs. What if I can't perform? What if companies have done a round of retrenchment? Now that means we have less people in the workplace. That means I have to do more work in order to help the company to drive the same result. So all these things are uncertainty that's creating all this anxiousness and fear. So as an organization, are you improving your communications? Are you communicating more consistently and more frequently with your team so that they know that they are safe, so that they know what is happening in the company, so that they know that, oh, these three companies has announced that there'll be no retrenchment. At least I know right now I'm safe. And then next three companies will be working on, announcing that, we already retrenched a group of people. We are not retrenching anymore. Now we want to focus on help you to upskill so that you can do your job better. Oh, then it's another sense of, oh, it's safe, right? I will be able to take trainings and be better and all these kind of different things. So that from an organizational point of view needs to happen. Organization needs to create that openness of communication so that people are listening and people are, oh, okay, so even my managers, my bosses, the company are openly sharing and communicating. So maybe I should also share, which now then brings me to the second piece, which is the employees themselves. If any of you here who are listening are employees, my only advice is that you spend 65% of your waking hours in the workplace. And probably, workplace is the best place for you to be able to have someone to talk to. Have your managers, speak to your managers, because at the end of the day, no one can give you any sense of certainty or security besides your manager. Because your manager is the one that knows what's happening. Your manager is the one who knows that, this is the direction, this is what we're trying to achieve. And your manager is the one that can give consistent communication with you, right? So as an employee, my opinion is that number one, you have nothing to lose by sharing. As a matter of fact, when you share, your manager is probably more likely to empathize with you about what's happening to you, that they will try to find a way to help you. Obviously, if they can't, then they can't, but if there's a way, they will more likely to help you. And so that's for employees, right? But I also want to talk about leaders, right? Leaders themselves, they are employees also, right? Sometimes you have, your bosses from C-suites, top-level management, directors, and so on. You feel that pressure to deliver and all these things. My suggestions to you is, as a leader, if you want your team to open up to you, you need to be open yourself. You need to be able to go to your team and tell them, you know what, I totally understand what you're feeling, because I'm feeling the same. Like right now, I'm unsure what the bosses are going to do. I'm unsure what's going to happen, but this is what I know that I can do. This is what I know that is within my control. So as a leader, again, you play a super important role. That's the reason why I personally believe that as leader, your ability to create a powerful conversation will help people to drive performance. And most importantly is that, if you don't create a psychological safety, you won't be able to drive performance. And that is a fact. You can see it for the next 6 months to 12 months. If there are more people who are more anxious, who are more fearful about their job and so on, work performance is going to drop. You will probably have more accidents in the workplace. You have more absenteeism in the workplace. You have more people leaving the workplace, right? So it's very important as a leader for you to take care of all these things that's within your control.
Well, I understand that from what Karfei shared earlier, it's very crucial for leaders to take the first step to kickstart a conversation, and very important to first understand from the point of view of employees or their team members before they put in any assumption that what you should do like this and that afterwards. Yeah, and also there's also another challenge that most leaders are facing right now, especially switching from a condition working from home, and now they're working in the office. It seems like we're back to normal working environment. The difference is that we have more safety SOP to obey. So a lot of leaders they face this challenge, like I feel reluctant to speak to my people. After more than near to 2 months of we communicate virtually, or some of them don't even really have engaged with the people throughout that almost 2 months of period. So they feel this reluctant. So they are thinking, how can I really, not feeling reluctant, and how can I re-engage back with my people?
I think there's a lot of factors that we need to take into consideration. So the first one is that are people not engaging because they're worried about their own safety? In a sense that, yes, I'm back in the office, but when you say engage, in a sense means, have more conversation, talking to each other and so on and so forth. Are people not doing it because of safety reasons? Which I think there are some, I was talking to a health and safety and biohazard expert a couple of weeks ago, and she's an expert in this. She's done all these things in labs and so on and so forth. And there are people who are actually still afraid to talk to people because they're afraid of getting that infection and COVID-19, right? Because I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe they have elderly at home, they're living with a big family, so they don't want to get infected. So they don't engage because they don't want to get infected, so that they don't kind of go back and bring it to their family and so on. So it's very important to understand why people are not engaging, right? So, and my advice is that if your team are not engaging because they're still afraid of COVID-19 or what's happening, I think number one, it's very important to make sure that safety and check are in place, which I believe a lot of companies are already doing. But I think it's also very important for the second one, which is what are some of the things that organizations or companies or teams can do virtually, right? I always believe that, actually I've seen not a lot, but a few of my clients and a lot of my friends' workplace where they've done a lot of things online. They started, having lunch online. They started to have an online space where they go in and just see each other working, to catch up, to talk, just like how we normally talk in an office space. They call it the cooler chat. The water cooler chat. You go to the water cooler to take water, and then you ended up talking and chit-chatting for like 5 minutes before you go back to work. How can we create the same virtually? It's possible. You can use Zoom. You can open up a virtual room. Everyone come together, free, and then we can just talk. Like, hey guys, how are you feeling, and things like that. So I feel there's a lot of things that we can do to create a form of engagement. And last but not least, I also feel that as a leader, it is also your role to initiate the conversation. So facilitation skills and your skills in terms of creating conversation in your team will help to create that engagement. So I think that's a lesson that all leaders need to know, because right now, when everyone moves to the virtual world, it is more important for you to learn and have the skill to talk to people.
Exactly. It's the art of speaking right now, and storytelling.
Yep, 100%. It takes a lot of effort, especially if you're doing it online, if you're doing it on Zoom or wherever, right?
Yep. So a quick recap back of what we talked earlier, to really get people back to back to the environment and get people to attach again to the team and look back into business direction, and we want to see certain performance after CMCO. The very crucial thing, first thing that we want to clarify and to solve the doubt, which is the psychological safety of our people. And also it's very important for leaders to take a step to really understand and have conversation with people. Even though for leaders out there, if you're listening, even though we might not done this before, any engagement with our people virtually, it's never too late to start it now. Yeah.
Yep.
So to get back to the we want to get people back to the path, and we want to drive that. We want to quickly resume back to the normal situation and want to see certain up performance. So what will be before we end this live, what will be the quick tips for creating a powerful conversation so that we get people back, and from there we drive performance?
Well, I think the most important thing about creating powerful conversation is that it has to be consistent. What I mean by consistent is that, at times like this, at difficult times like this, it is very easy for us. Okay, you know what? Team leaders, you have to go talk to your team to understand them and so on, which is great. But if you don't do it consistently, then there will be an issue. Why do I say there will be an issue? Because if you don't do it consistently enough, your team will feel that you are faking it. Your team will feel that, oh, you're doing it just for the sake of, trying to make us happy, and so that we'll not leave our job, or so that we can perform better. That's not the point. At the end of the day, I always believe that in any organization, it is people, process, and profit. People always comes first, right? So you as a leader, consistent communication and consistent conversation with your team is the one most important thing that you can do. And the tips to be able to do it, number one, it's active listening. Don't go and have a conversation by purely wanting to tell them what to do, by purely wanting to throw everything that you know to them. What's important for any single conversation is listening. Just ask yourself, do you feel better when people keep on talking to you? Or do you feel better when people actually listen to you talk? Most of the time, it's the listening. You prefer and you feel more comfortable when people are actually listening to what you say, right? So very important, active listening. And second, it's be curious, right? Be curious about what's happening in other people's life. Ask questions so that you try to find out what's happening in their work, in their life, and so on. And last but not least, it's helping them to to feel that it is safe. At the end of the day, giving them a bit of affirmation about what's happening, telling them, this is what's happening, this is the direction, giving them that form of affirmation, that helps to, soften the whole thing so that people feel, what, yes, right now, I know I'm safe, I'll be able to do my job as normal. So those are the 3 tips that's very important for any leaders, any organizations, or anyone in who are leading teams.
Great. I catch the 3 tips already from Karfei. The first one is being consistent. Secondly is being active listening, because without listening, we will not know what is truly happening. And it's very dangerous for leaders to put assumptions on our people. And to go further on this, how can we be active listening is be curious, right? So when we are in a state of curious, we're able to ask the right questions, and from there we're able to listen what is the condition that we're really facing right now.
Yep.
So that's the quick tips from Karfei. And we actually come to the end of our Sembang True episode 2. It's a very short one where we do it like 15 minutes to 25 minutes. So I appreciate Karfei for this chat. There's a lot of important points that leaders should take note. And it's very important to engage people. Before we engage, conversation is crucial. Yeah. So
and thank you for having me.
Yeah. So for people who are still in the live, if you want to understand more about how can we create powerful conversations to drive more ownership among our people, and from there we drive more performance, right now in the comment below, you can visit to the link for more tips from Karfei. So we have this full program about the powerful conversation that drive ownership performance in a full flash. Karfei will show us tips and tricks, and also a very practical way. How can we really connect to people? How can we have a conversation with people to generate the ultimate outcome that we want to see as a leader in organizations? Yeah.
100%. So I look forward to seeing all of you. And thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Karfei, also. Be our second guest of this Sembang True. Yeah, thank you for people in the Facebook joining us in the Sembang True episode 2 today. So for information, we will have this episode 3 of Sembang True will be on next week. So stay tuned in our Impact Evolution Facebook page. Yeah, thank you guys. So I see you when I see you.